Rapper 50 Cent, as he is known, warning LA County and LA the city is about to get out of control, he writes, over its bail policy, allowing more criminals to walk free. The rapper posting a local news clip about the far-left bail reform saying, quote, LA is finished, watch how bad it gets out there. Shaking my head. Somebody else who's shaking his head is our next guest. He was born and raised in LA and says leadership is to blame for the soaring crime problem. Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer joins us right now, shaking his head.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning to you. 50 Cent is absolutely right.
Well, let me tell you, his advice is at least worth $1. My question is, where's he been this whole time? I mean, we had zero bail for, several years during the pandemic. And quite frankly, Steve, look, zero bail was an excuse by our Judicial Council, which controls our courts. It was already being discussed and ready to be implemented before the pandemic. The pandemic became the excuse to implement zero bail. The legislature in California, where I served for 6 years in the state assembly, tried to pass zero bail under Senator Hertzberg, and it did. And then the voters had to overturn it. So let's get real. I'm not a listener of 50 Cent, but he has a lot of influence and a lot of followers. And it's about time that the music industry and Hollywood elite got their arms around this problem and started to speak out.
Absolutely. And to your point, Todd, about this started during COVID, the intention was back then, the cover story was we want to reduce overcrowding. If COVID's super contagious, try to get as many people out of the jails as possible. Well, now, COVID is no longer a problem, but that's still the intent.
It's always been the intent. Listen, there's a social agenda sweeping America that was implemented before the pandemic. It was accelerated during the pandemic. Yep. And now that the pandemic's over, guess what? The social progressives are not going to allow the excuse of the pandemic to stop them from trying to transform America. And the worst enemy that's enabling all of this in Los Angeles is the LA Times. There's a front page article today in the editorial section all about we must provide housing first for the homeless. Mm-hmm. No, we have Reverend Andy Bales, who ran the rescue mission in LA, driven out of LA because he had the gall to say, as an expert, you must provide mental diversion, mental illness diversion, mental health and alcohol. Nope. When he said housing first doesn't work, they drove him out of the rescue mission. LA County has failed. It's beyond crisis. It's not rescuable. And last point, Steve, did you know the homeless count went up in the last count? Why? Because the homeless are going in droves to LA County where they can get $1 million house for free, while my son, who has a college education and just graduated, cannot afford to live in Los Angeles. Yeah. What is upside down about this model?
Plenty, absolutely, Todd. Meanwhile, you mentioned $1 million from one singer to another. Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles, her house was burglarized. Apparently, she had $1 million worth of cash and jewelry in the house. It's now gone. I'm sure they're trying to look and find the cash and the jewelry. But then again, it's one of those things where nobody was hurt. Do we really have to look for the person?
Steve, my staff is testifying in front of Congress next week about the abuse of the visa program in America. The Chileans are coming here 350,000 a year and burglarizing homes in large droves. I pointed this out. Speaker McCarthy was in my county 2 weeks ago. Kevin and I are good friends. We served in the state legislature together, and now we're going to end the visa program. So I'm telling you, Steve, this cannot be allowed to take over America.
Well, let's see what happens. We hope they catch the people involved and they return her cash and jewelry. Todd, thank you very much for getting up early out there.
Anytime, Steve. Thank you so much.
You bet.